listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. My guest with me, as always, this evening is the real Dr. V. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Doctor, one of the reasons why we do all the different shows here on the Extreme Movie Show, whether it's science fiction, action, martial arts, whatever we do, is the fact that you're a millennial, and that's a fact. Okay, I'm not positive about
Well,
it. I'm not
that's
negative. It's just what it
that
is.
that changes every 10 years.
Well, that being said, we like to kind of compare and contrast my 80s sensibility versus your millennial foolishness. So I don't know whether A, to give you props for being a doctor at a millennial's age, or lament the sad state of educational affairs that allows someone like you to be licensed, which you are licensed, aren't you?
Fully licensed.
Okay, good. Because tonight,
I mean, if Doogie Howser could be a doctor at age 13, why can't I be a doctor? Be a
because this
millennial.
isn't the 80s, and unfortunately, because it's not the 80s, we're going to talk about something that people today don't want to talk about, and that's losers. We're going to talk about movies that are overrated. Not movies necessarily that we hate, not movies necessarily that didn't make a crap ton of money, because I'm sure they did, but it's a big focus on, well, hey, everyone said this movie was great. There was a lot of hype for this. But no, it's really not that good. So we intentionally didn't want to start on time. We intentionally did not want to do a lot of graphics. We intentionally didn't create new music for it. We intentionally didn't even bother to come up with new theme music to say what losers are, because losers don't deserve it. Losers let things happen. Winners make things happen. And when you're making a movie, I don't care how much you hype it. If it sucks, it sucks. And we're going to call that out a little bit on a few movies tonight. So be forewarned, go get triggered. I really don't care. We're going to talk about possibly some classics and some canon that people will not like, but we're going to be lighthearted and have fun about it because we're not triggered. At least I'm not. Mark's already thrown in Grand Hotel Budapest.
No,
Okay.
we're only doing a top five. So if you guys want to list your top five, you do that as well.
And you know what? We might not even do five each, because a real top 10 that we may be doing here for 2003 after this stream, losers don't deserve a full top 10. So we might just go in any particular order, not even number, because loser movies don't deserve that. So I'll just go with a movie as an example, Doctor, and then you follow my lead. One movie that's completely overrated, and the best description about it is like, well, it makes a hell of a video game, is the new launch, I should say, at the time of the James Bond franchise, a movie called GoldenEye. So GoldenEye was a movie that came out with Pierce Brosnan in it that has the most really dumb, stupid, intellectually devoid bit of garbage at the beginning, with him running across a whole army thing, punching a guy while he's on a toilet. I mean, even by Bond standards, it's like worse than Moonraker when it comes to believability. At least Moonraker was entertaining. But in Pierce Brosnan's defense, and anybody that likes GoldenEye that started growing up on it, yes, it might have been a great little action game on Nintendo or whatever. But as
Just to
far
say
as
that.
I was gonna say, as far as the movie goes, Doctor, what made GoldenEye bad was this was the full 100% transition to being woke or PC or whatever term you want to use that wasn't actually a hype term at the time, because this is where you saw Bond really getting limp wristed in a way and not being the character he was. And I like Pierce Brosnan. I do not dislike him. I have a soft spot for The World Is Not Enough, but GoldenEye is garbage. It's rubbish. It's not that good. Everyone acts like it's the best movie ever. And I think that's just probably the millennials at the time first real introduction to James Bond for the most part, because now they're getting cable, now they're getting the internet, now they're getting opportunity to see everything. So for me, it's GoldenEye. So GoldenEye, overrated. You belong in the losers
Uh,
club.
yeah, I remember that. That's one that had Xena on the top. Yes, Famke Janssen. The whole they're crushing guys with their legs. It's just hokey. Um, I did. I gotta say, what part was it? I like the fact that they had Judi Dench in it.
Well,
I
she
thought she
cuts
was a
his
better
balls off.
actress.
She's great. She cuts his balls off when they sit down there and having drinks, and she basically tells him all that. And that is
Yeah.
honestly that a little brief speech where she talks about him being misogynist and all that. That explains what's going to happen for every Bond movie afterwards.
I mean, what I remember from the thing is the whole train scene. Yes, when and he has to use his watch laser to cut through it and get out before it explodes. Uh, I mean, Boris with his pen, "I'm invincible," and he dies. It
No,
was so. as far as henchman goes, yes, he played the part correctly. Yes, you know, uh, like I said, I did. I didn't. I honestly, it's just no. I didn't care for Pierce Brosnan at all. Really. Um, I was more of a Timothy Dalton fan. Hell, I even like Sean Connery better than him. You
Right.
know, I honestly, it goes for me. It goes Dalton, then it goes Connery, Roger Moore, and then Pierce Brosnan. You know, Daniel Craig doesn't even fit into there. I don't know because this is his last movie, so he may change the scales. You know, he may actually come up in third or fourth, or
No.
you know,
All right. So
we don't know yet. I can't. So,
what do you have
but
on your overrated category? And we're not numbering them
my
because they don't deserve it.
well, I'll just say my first one I'm going to talk about is a little movie that talks about how life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what shady movie you're going to get. Um, that's Forrest Gump.
Oh no, that was on my list. You take it. I can't talk right now. Why is Forrest Gump overrated?
Well, I guess the reason why I think it's overrated because we're so enamored of this movie. It's a story about a girl who basically looks down on a guy who actually truly loves her,
Daddy
cares for
doesn't
her
love me.
because he's handicapped. We're retarded. Sorry, we can't say that word on YouTube. They don't like that.
He's
But
intellectually challenged.
he likes talking to people like this. Jenny. That's all I remember the movie. Hey, Jenny. Jenny. Forrest, I don't like you. Run, Forrest, run. No, but this movie did have some good stuff in it. It had special effects. You know, I thought it was cool. It's the first I've ever seen anybody where they actually took somebody like him and put him in like shaking hands with Nixon and all stuff, the black stuff. Back then, I've never saw a movie where they actually did that, where it didn't look so weird. Like what was it movie? Uh, double team, or or knockoff. I think it was knockoff. The one with where they had two Jean Claude Van Damme each other. You can see you can literally see the line. This actually the technology is a little bit better, but no, this movie he liked her, and every single turn she's like, I can't be with you. I'm not good enough for you. I'm gonna go with this guy who's even worse than you. You
She's
know,
going for the
worse
hot
than me and
stud.
stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then guess what? Shockers. She dies of AIDS or something. I wonder why. She slept the whole movie. She slept the other people instead of being with him, but yet she had a kid with him and leaves him with a kid. I mean,
Wow. Mark is on a roll. He's just can't he's spewing out movies. Legends of the Fall. I will say this about 2001 Jim Sorensen saying is you know, it's true, and I think with
but
2001 it's like hardly any movies are like that. With Forrest Gump I felt the same way. I'm looking at it going, I don't get it. The accent sucks. I get he's supposed to be maybe a 90 IQ. And I just absolutely was just mortified at how awful it was. And what was her name? Jenny?
Jenny,
Jenny, whatever. To
I
your point, I don't. I mean, it's like, okay, here's a girl. Was she abused or beaten by her dad or
I,
something?
she was her dad. I don't know if he sexually abused her or what, but yeah, she ended up having going out loser after loser, got hooked on drugs and all that stuff. And when she finally realized, you know, that hey, Forrest is actually a nice guy, maybe I should just sit down with him. Nope, she dies. She gets cancer and dies.
Yeah.
And just before she dies, like Forrest, I want you to meet someone. It's your son. Good luck. But
She could have the decency to at least, you know, I don't know, leave him some insurance or something. But no,
no, but
not
it's
Forrest. He's too nice. He wouldn't know
like
what to do with the money.
this movie had some funny moments though, like when he's running and then he's like rips his face. Oh, it's a smiley face. He's like, you can make money. He's like, I don't need it. or him and Bubba Gump Shrimp or Lieutenant Dan. So I mean, it has some like quotable stuff. But if you think about the actual story, it's so depressing, man.
All right. I, all right.
She would have saved them trouble if she would have jumped off the top of the hotel.
Push me, Forrest. Push me. They won't charge you, and you'll get the money.
I never touched a woman boob before. Literally in the car scene.
They
I
should have
was
been
like,
like a little meme there or whatever. Instead of here, hold my beer, should be
can you
here, hold my
imagine that?
kid. Let
I
me
don't think
jump
that,
off the building.
I don't think this movie could be made by now. That'd be called sexual assault, or don't want to be abused, you know, because he's handicapped, you know.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
Tom Hanks, best movie. Tropic Thunder even made it better.
Speaking of bad acting, this movie, which I guess is Marvel, because I don't really care. This movie made a metric F ton of money, as they say, and the sequel looks even worse. Um, this movie would have been about, instead of, I think it was about 2 hours and 37 minutes was the runtime, and it would have been 1 hour and 22 minutes long if all the slow motion scenes were cut out of it. Now, of course, I'm talking about Wonder Woman, because this movie, the more I see her, I just go, God, she's just an absolutely striking woman, just gorgeous to look at. And that's it. I see no sparkle behind the eyes. I don't see anything about it. And I know everybody's happy to see a female being empowered, which we've talked about here on the Extreme Movie Show for ever since we've debuted less than a year ago. And we actually, one of our most popular videos is our Mother's Day movie tribute to Mother's Day mommy movies, as we like to call them, about strong individual women because we like that. You know what? We respect that. We have boundaries and we respect those boundaries. And unfortunately, a movie like Wonder Woman has no boundaries because it's just pure rubbish. It's completely silly in that it's the fight scenes are awful. They're just not believable. They're not even good by video game or bad comic book standards. It's just kind of, they make her look dopey the way she talks to interact with the world. She's supposed to be anachronistic or whatever because she doesn't know the real world, and she just the only thing that was good about this movie was some of the set pieces looked really really nice, and the color scheme I thought was pretty good too. But no, just can't buy it. No reason to root or cheer. The bad guys are really, really dumb. And I know there was the swerve with the one guy's not really the bad guy; it's the other guy or gal or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, I didn't see that coming. Okay, whatever. Chris Pine, boy, I'm glad you're cashing the big check and had a nice affair. Although Chris Pine is no Richard Burton, so I'm sure he didn't shag her. So anyway, the fact I'm talking about Chris Pine trying to make it with the Wonder Woman behind the scenes means this movie is really not that good and very overrated. Your take, sir?
Uh, as far as that movie, I thought it was all right. I mean, it could have been better.
Ordinary people, Mark C's thrown out there. That's a snooze fest. I hope you're just not naming movies to
Yeah,
name movies like Rip
I
Van
know.
Winkle.
We said five movies. Oh,
Eric, let's talk about Mission Impossible. Somebody brought that up. I think Maverick did earlier. I will say that I can understand everybody who says that we have to rely on Tom Cruise's little 5 foot tall, 120-pound body being an action star. And it's not believable. And I would agree with you because he's not what we think of with a physical, fighting kind of guy. Now, can he hide it the best and do all that the best? I say yes, because there's very little action that we have left unless you're looking at like VOD things or you're waiting for Amy Johnston to be in Mortal Kombat, which hopefully she will be, but we all know it's probably not going to happen because she's probably considered B or C list. But that being said, I did not like the first two movies at all. I hated the second one with John Woo.
oh, you know why? You know why people look down on Tom Cruise for being short? Because look at Clint Eastwood, is 6'4". John Wayne, 6'4".
Well, larger than life, literally. Charlton Heston, 6'3", 6'4".
I mean, all those guys were huge back then. So when you finally get a guy who do action stars, so I mean, would you rather have Brad Pitt? He's 5'11". Stallone's 5'10". I mean,
Yeah, he's not even 5'10". He never was.
according to Wikipedia, they're saying he's 10. He must have changed it.
Take 2 or 3 inches off everybody's height on there. I mean, yeah, even the transporter guy's not that big. They're really not.
Uh,
Hollywood guys are literally average to small size guys, and yeah, they're supposed to look big on screen. And this is why, like with Arnold Schwarzenegger, there was a lot of stuff with Conan, one of my favorite movies of all time. What I liked about it is that's real beefcake on screen. I mean, there's no J Lo halftime show, which I thought a halftime show was supposed to be family friendly, not a porno strip show, which whatever. I mean, and here she was wearing like the female version of Spanx. I mean, it's like, no. In Conan, you get Arnie, you get everybody out there. You can't fake that kind of stuff. So, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we even have anything like that today at all. I mean, for
yeah.
God's sakes, I'd rather watch Jim Cotta than some of the stuff that's out there today when it comes to
I mean,
physicality.
I want to address Eric Green's comment. talking about Tom Cruise, he's saying, and Home Movie Top Gun, he's saying that they killed the only good character in it. That's not true. We never met his dad, so how do you know they killed him? He was a good character. You know,
Hmm. All right, give me
and
something. Give me something. Give me another overrated flick.
I'll, oh, another overrated flick. Let's see here. I'll go with Avatar. How about that?
Oh, I totally
Honestly,
agree.
anybody who's ever seen this movie and knows it's a ripoff of a ripoff of a ripoff. It does the same story as Pocahontas. And also it's Fern Gully, but this time we're James Cameron. We're gonna go from Titanic. We're gonna go out to 3D models. And basically, all these characters, how they control like these the Navari order, they control them by using the tentacles in their hair. So they can use it to control the horse. So they plug it into the horse or whatever thing they have, animal, and that's how they will use that. They even use their hair for sex. So the scary thing is you don't know if they're doing it with trees or doing it with the horse at the same time. You don't know. They don't know their sexual or fantasies and all that crap is. But this movie is it's I just couldn't. I mean, I watched it. I expected more Sigourney Weaver in there, and it's the whole point is that they basically Earth was depleted for whatever reason. It's another one of the dystopian movie features where they
Evil white
have
man.
to go to another planet.
War.
Yes, they have to go to a planet, and they have to create these alien hybrids of humans, and then they use their own minds to control these, like movie surrogates, but they're using actual alien things, and it's yeah, is it visually appealing? Yeah, I guess so. You could say that, but beyond that, it's just another one of those movies. It's a copy of a copy.
And
Um,
it's a
it
blatant in your face kind of
w-
saying that
w-
we're
w-
wrong as society. We're really really bad. Here, I'll show it. I'll put it on the movie and make $1 billion.
yeah, I mean the guy, Sam Worthington, he's a stable former Marine who ends up, falling in love with one of the aliens on there, and he options to put his whole entire conscious into one of the bodies, because he's in love with her. He can stay on there. While the rest of them, we had Sigourney Weaver, where she died. Uh, um, I think she died. I can't remember. I think she died. But you also had Michelle Rodriguez in there as well too. And he just decides to stay with that, stay on the planet because he wants to be with the alien chick or hybrid alien, whatever animal. And yeah, and he just goes, and then the rest of them get what they need, go back to Earth. They leave.
You know, another thing too with Avatar is while visually it was very spectacular when it came out, I will say that it made me honestly, and I'm being honest and I'm being sincere. I'm speaking from my heart here. That with James Cameron, I felt like I had to go back and almost mentally revisit anytime I saw a movie of his come out, or if it was on and I was rewatching it, going, "Wait a minute, I really, really liked his movies, and I really liked some of the things that he did." But going back, I'm going, was he really this much of a bedwetting liberal? Which, if that's not what you are, that's fine. But I hate movies that really try to make it seem like
Well,
we're at
I,
fault and we're
I
bad, and it's just like a shame kind of thing, and it's just that's not cool. And we had
this
talked
mo-
before. Well, I was going to say we had talked before about Charlton Heston in a movie, um, Soylent Green, where that was based off of overpopulation and all this fake kind of stuff that's still in the public consciousness today. That this whole echo kind of nonsense garbage. It's been around for a while, and I absolutely hate it. And I just look at it and go, I understand having a dystopian future. I understand not having a happy ending. I'm okay with all those things. Just don't put it in such a way where you're trying to make, you beat up on your customer, which is a movie person coming in and saying, hey, I just want to watch something and that's fine. You're going to put a
Mhm.
message in there, do it. But you know what? I can't complain in this sense that it made a crap ton of money. He's going to make a bunch more. He does it his way and he has his own vision. So I'm not nearly as triggered by that movie as these others. But yeah, it's garbage too.
I mean, this movie was not that much close to being away from being a hentai. This is your computer animated stuff you'd probably find on a dirty site on the web. But it had celebrity actors, So I wonder if there's a horrible cut. Because remember that if you don't really know about this, but the bloopers they did for Thundercats and Funimation just did this for Dragon Ball Z or Super.
Hmm.
They were doing some really raunchy stuffs, with the characters. So I mean, yeah, I don't
Well,
know. Like I said, this movie, I guess, was made for little kids. To teach about how if you don't take care of the Earth, we got to go to some gas planet, and you got to bond with some alien creature, and then you have to, adapt to their support. You have to recognize and support their religion. So it's basically Pocahontas. That's what this movie was. It felt to me like that. Fern Girl, it was the same way. That was Christian Slater, who was shrunk down by a fairy because he was going to be a logger that was going to cut down some trees, and he ends up having respect for her. They fall in love, all that stuff, and then he gets back to being human sized again.
yeah, and shame I think is a good way to
But
describe what I'd mentioned before. Now that I see Dalton
uh,
in channel about A Christmas Carol, that's a big part of it too. You're trying to shame people watching it by, almost basically saying, I'm a movie maker. I'm really not trying to tell you how to live your life, but I just want to
dude,
show you that how bad you really are. I mean,
Mark
come on.
sees dude dropping all these movies, and
He
these are movies I
is.
considered put on my list, but it's a 5 list,
Yeah, we
or
just
even
were
five.
trying out kind of like a new show tonight because, frankly, we wanted to do like a top whatever, but not quite 10 list. And so I thought, okay, loser movies, what do we not like? Well, overrated ones. Let's talk about that. And that's honestly a big part of the Extreme Movie Show is that we talk about what we like, what we don't like. We like to point out our different points of view because they are different. We always talk about me being the contrarian, E being the Pollyanna, and the millennial in the group is Dr. V. So I don't know all his views, or like Dalton's come on a couple times too. So, you know, Jim Sorensen said Mad Max Fury Road, live action Roadrunner movie. I will say this, Jim. I really, really like that movie a lot, and I agree there's really almost nothing going on in it. That being said, I would maintain that it's a great movie, and one of the things is I think people at this point, no matter how good I think it is, even if it was just an average movie, Jim, people were craving practical effects for the most part, which is what we had of in spades back in the 80s, stuntmen and all that stuff. We talked about this before with um, just anything from the 80s, not just even Chuck Norris, but Rambo, when we did that about just how special practical effects are. And that's one thing that the guy who originally did it, Mr. Miller, did and did great in it. I thought Hardy was fine in it. And frankly, I like Mel Gibson too, but I mean, God, it worked for me on a lot of levels, even though it was very visceral and it was one notice. I would agree with you. But I think even audiences today are so programmed to see all the CGI nonsense that when they get a practical effect, they can't appreciate or they're not used to seeing stuff that they compare it to, unless you get something like John Wick, which is just unwatchable to me because it's exhausting and it means everything means nothing the more you do it. But I would also agree with Inception. Not a big fan of that. Jim's also agreeing with that too. Technically proficient but has no soul. Good way of saying it too. Hmm. All right. So next one is for me Star Wars. Uh, I thought Star Wars was okay when I saw it as a kid, and I've seen it a few times since. But ultimately, I think it's kind of slow. It's kind of dull. It's kind of boring. It doesn't do really that much for it, but it was different at the time and it was something to watch and it felt like something I hadn't seen before. So I think it was really a great movie to go see in the summer. And I honestly don't know at that time if the original plan was to do the three movies. I always heard as a kid it was a trilogy of trilogies, which of course we got. And I think a lot of people like myself who saw the first trilogy don't even like the second or third trilogies. I know everybody has their opinions about it. That's not what this is for, but I don't hate it. I just think it's okay. Um, like what Doctor said about Avatar, it's kind of like made for kids is the way I look at it. And frankly, I really didn't like Luke, to be honest with you. Everybody likes Han Solo. He's kind of cool. It brings a bit of the adult perspective to it, but everyone's just kind of like, eh. So yeah, Star
All
Wars
right,
vastly
all
overrated.
right. We got a special guest here.
Special
Who?
guest. I'm one of the main characters here, bub. Okay, I want to talk about this, and I heard what you were saying about Avatar. Both Star Wars and Avatar, and basically any James Cameron film, suffer from the same thing. Now, some people, obviously, Star Wars is loved by a hell of a lot of people. That's obvious. However, James Cameron films and Star Wars, the big reason why they resonated with a lot of people right away. However, like you said, you have to go back and check out James Cameron movies, is because they were groundbreaking filmmakers as far as the structure of the film is concerned. We never saw anything like Star Wars before it came out.
Yes,
We never
agreed.
saw anything like Titanic when it came out. Never saw Avatar. If you remember, Avatar is what kicked off the 3D. What do you call it? It just reinvigorated 3D movies in cinema at the time. James Cameron technically is an incredible filmmaker. He just doesn't pay attention to a story enough.
No, I mean,
And so ultimately they become weak. And I think that's what happened with Avatar. Now, I say a lot of times I say, well, that was good. But what I really mean is it was enjoyable. I can enjoy Avatar. But if I want to watch a better movie with the same story, I'll go watch Dances with Wolves.
mm-hmm.
It was just a better movie with
like
the same story.
Like I said, Avatar is basically another echo of Pocahontas, which is a Disney movie you can watch. Or
which
Ferngully.
was after Dances with Wolves. Which was after Dances with Wolves. I'm telling you, dude.
I know. I'd still rather watch Pocahontas.
Oh, by the way, as far as overrated movies, Dances with Wolves. But
I mean, Pocahontas is the best out of them because she has the song about the rainbow.
Okay, yeah, I got it. As far as Star Wars and what Rob's saying, of course, I've loved the film for a long time. I've gotten to the point now, though I can't watch it. I put it on. I said, "Oh, I want to see Star Wars," so I put it on and I started doing other things. Well, it's background noise to me now because I've seen it a bajillion times.
When I first saw them, yes, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I was like, "Yeah." First one, okay, it's all about Luke. It's annoying. Second one got a little better. You know, the space and all the fighting, all stuff. You know, him and Carbonite and stuff. You can see. And then the third one is like, okay, he loses. It's just him versus Vader. So the last two movies are actually like the same half, but they're broken up.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Paolo, I was joking about the Dances with Wolves. It just seemed like a good punchline for where I was going.
I mean, if he's not literally dancing with one, why would I want to watch it?
Oh no, he actually does.
Okay, then I don't want it then.
That's how he gets the name Dances with Wolves. But it's I wanted to put a little contribute to this particular conversation just because I was like, oh yeah, because all of it, by the way, no, because all of this leads to what I think is one of the most, and I mean absolutely freaking over the top, most overrated films of all time. And it's because at the time it was this technical marvel, and that's Citizen Kane. My God, how many top 10 lists this of all time this is number one on, and it is just so freaking slow and dull and dark for most of the film. You can't even, especially if you don't get the right print, you can't see what's going on. It's just, oh my gosh, what? Look, it's okay. It's not bad, but the number one film of all time, it is not. It is no Biodome.
It's pretty darn good. I like it.
I almost put it on my list today because I was asking you what's the greatest movie so I could see if there's one of the movies I didn't like.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've never seen it, right?
It's on free on YouTube.
Well, there you go. If you ever get a chance, you've got Rob likes it. I don't hate it. It's just I don't see it being the number one film of all time.
Dalton told me to go watch another movie by Humphrey Bogart.
Oh well, yeah. Humphrey Bogart's
Falcon. It was called Falcon something.
Maltese Falcon. Hell yeah. That is not an overrated film.
I was saving that till a few more Humphrey Bogarts, just so he could, get more used to Humphrey and then digest the awesomeness that is that movie.
There's not a lot of Humphrey Bogart I would use the term overrated on.
And out of respect for the people who might get upset about maybe not like the Avengers, I did not put any other Marvel movies on the list. We only had 5.
Citizen Kane is even greater than the 1000th issue of Detective Comics, says Eric Breen.
It was, yeah. Although that one was a reprint, that was the stories they actually had on.
Yeah, when we had talked about Where Eagles Dare the other night, I was just going off about just how awesome Richard Burton comes across on screen, and I think Orson Welles kind of, to me, has that same talent. Maybe his talents are in different areas. He could speak well, but Richard Burton's just known for his voice. But Orson Welles, to be able to drop something like that, especially at his age and everything, was just, again, to your point, something we hadn't really seen before in films.
Well,
and yes, it was a long time ago.
That was one of the worlds.
To me, Orson Welles, the tip top is A Touch of Evil. I love that. I know what's the movie? It's the title slipping my mind, but Harry Lime. He plays Harry Lime. That one's also a great performance by him.
I
God
mean,
dang it! What's the name of that movie?
I don't know.
I know.
Who's in it?
The comment section smarter than me. They'll figure it out. But yeah, Orson Welles plays a villain named Harry Lime, and it takes place in like Paris. And
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, the famous scene is the protagonist's been chasing him around, and he's in a dark alley and he just kind of lights the lighter, and he all yeah, beautiful freaking cinematography.
Well, before we
Yeah.
go to the doctor's next thing, I want to comment on here. But actually, doctor, since he popped in, we'll let him go next. But I want to comment on something Jim has here in channel where he says,
Third Man, thank you. Sorry
says,
about that, Rob.
the third man, yeah. Jim says might
Third
be kind
Man
of a
out.
cop out, but any M Night Shyamalan movie, I will sit there and say I can understand that, Jim, and I don't disagree with you. What I will add is, unlike what we've talked about with some technically proficient guys like a Cameron, although Cameron once in a while can do it okay, and Nolan cannot, in my opinion. I think M Night Shyamalan knows what he's doing, and that he has a little bit of a soul and he has a little bit of sense of humor with it, and he's not trying to be too deep. And I find his movies enjoyable. And yes, they're a bit one-notish, but you can rewatch them a time or two afterwards and go, "Oh, I missed this," or "I caught what they were saying with this. Oh, I get it now." And so I do like it. Although I've heard he's had a few stinkers, but I did like his work on Wayward Pines as well. So give us
Wayward
more.
Pines is awesome.
like
Going on M Night Shyamalan, part of his problem, and that's not to say that the movies are bad. Once again, we're talking about overrated, not necessarily bad movies, just overrated ones.
Correct.
Part of M Night's problem is that he does love the twist. So you get that first time you're watching, you're going, oh wow, yeah, that was really cool. And then you get that second watch, maybe the third watch, while you're trying to see all the tricks that lead up to the twist. But once you discover them, what's next? It's kind of got a shelf life on rewatchability.
For the best movie,
Barbara's got the
well,
best comments so far. You say Suzuki
I
is
mean-
boring, unbreakable as Valium.
Thank you. I agree with you on that. I absolutely agree with you on that one. Everyone, it's almost like one of Rob's favorite films where everyone talks quiet and low. It really is. It's one of those movies, man. Serious. I disagree. Who was it? Mark C. about Grand Budapest Hotel. You could talk about a lot of other of his movies, and I'll agree with you. But Grand Budapest.
If it
is
wasn't
awesome.
for M. Night Shyamalan, we never would have got that awesome spoof with Charlie Sheen in Scary Movie, where she's pinned. He's like, his wife's been pinned in a tree. He's like, well, there's still time, with the hot dog and the donuts.
How's her bottom half? Can I spend a little time with that? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, I'm supposed to come up with an overrated film.
Or the doctor can go and you can go after.
Yeah, you go on ahead, Doc. I'm feeling more
we're going with movies from any decade.
Mhm.
So, at one time, this movie was popular between 16-year-old girls, and they love striped shirts. This movie is from 2007. E probably knows what movie I'm talking about.
Yo, I do. Yes, I do. I do, Home Slice.
Oh, I hate that hipster lingo. This movie, if you don't know, it starts Kitty Pryde, a.k.a. Ellen Page, and Michael Cera. This movie's called Juno.
Or if it's a soft J. I don't know. What it's, yeah.
Yeah,
you'll know. I totally agree with this. The biggest, you know what? You mentioned any decade, and something popped into my mind as soon as you said this. Juno is such a product of its time, and I think that's the big problem. And everybody went nuts over it. It got nominated for best screenplay. In Ellen Page, it made her a star. Even though I think she was on her way after what was a Hard Candy or whatever that movie. She was on her way to being a star, but this is what put her over the top.
The very beginning of the movie, I'm just watching, and she's like, they go, she starts off with her taking out her underwear, they go have sex. You don't know who it is, and then but later on we find out it's Michael Cera. And Michael Cera with that mustache. I was just like, what is this movie here? It's like, he's usually a funny guy, but this is like him playing a serious role. It's like, I don't like it. I mean,
I actually liked him more in this because he seemed more like a teenager than she did. He was awkward. He was awkward. He was, kind of he was the only one that acted as if he was not in control of his life.
We had Dwight in there at the gas station before he went to work sell paper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the whole awkward thing between him and her is like, well, you got to pee on the stick again. Well, you got to pay for it. I'm like, he like, obviously if she's underage and he's so cool and calm, collected that he doesn't care. And when she goes to the women thing, the women pavilion, like the women support group, it's basically the abortion clinic. The girl working there is like, she's got piercings also, and she doesn't really care what's going on. Well, if you gotta sign your name in there and do all your stuff, make sure you don't have any stuff, whatever. And then she's like, here, you want a condom? He's like, sure. It makes my boyfriend taste like apple pie. I was like, what is? I'm like, really? This is at a support group? I don't never been in one, but I was like, if this is a professional clinic, man, this is like, what the heck? Obviously, it's Hollywood. So
No,
man,
I mean, in any college campus, you just go and then they've got
but
them by the
the
bag.
whole
I mean, they throw them out everywhere. I mean, it's just
Rob,
they don't care. I
Rob,
mean, ugh.
the reason I thought of this movie because it reminded me of Forrest Gump, about a guy who was in love with a girl, but she didn't want him.
Oh, I
She
see. Okay,
she kept turning him
explain
down, and
at the
then
beginning,
she wanted to
right?
give her child away. And I believe Jason Bateman is in his movie as well. That's what it was.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
plays a douche. This is the start of his douche campaign.
yes, where he was going to basically him and his wife, newlyweds, we're gonna adopt this baby from her because she can take care of it, and then he starts hitting on her. Like he's like, well, she finds out that he broke up with his wife. He's like, hey, you don't want to go out sometime and do some stuff, because she was kind of she liked these punk, but he liked punk rock. So he's kind of trying to seduce her, and then she goes talks to her stepdad, who's played by is it J.K. Simmons?
Yep.
That's what it was. Yeah, come on, the name. Basically, the guy who played Jonah
Jameson. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's her stepdad. Basically tells her like, well, this guy, you should go back with Michael Cera because this guy actually he's a father. He wants to be with you, support you. And at the end she's like, oh, I guess I will, And then she still gives the baby away up to the mom, or not the mom, but the guy's the Chase was now ex-wife because she's so great to take care of the kid. I'm thinking,
What's her name? Electra.
yeah,
What's her name?
Carmelita? No, it's
No,
Natalie
no.
Portman.
The girl who played Electra in
Natalie
the
Portman.
movie. No.
Was it? No, Jennifer Garner.
Not Electra Lux. It's
Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't understand. Like, why didn't she take care of herself and with her help of her dad and her stepmom?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't understand. It's like, where's the support for her? It's like, well,
there are no parents in this film.
I thought it was her folks.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you watch the movie, there are no parents. She doesn't want to be a parent to the baby, so she gives it away she wants to give it away to someone else who is not ready to be parents, and she herself never have parents that get involved. The whole thing is there are no. It is about the destruction of the nuclear family. There is no nuclear family. There is just you in this particular movie. It's not. Like I said, it's a product of its time. And if you really think about it, and we talk about as far as comic books over at I Love Comics, the writing is so bad, and it just seems to be more about can I make cool dialogue than can I make a decent story. But let me finish the thought here, because then you can react to that instead. This was very, very, very popular to teenage girls now, and now who's writing comic books, gang? That's why we're getting these books that seem to be, or it's one of the reasons we're getting these books that seem to be more intent on trying to have hip dialogue, which really sounds stupid, other than an actual and interesting story. They were born and bred on shit like Juno from the 2000s, because this did breed a hell of a lot of movies like it.
Her friend, when they're talking on the phone, if you're trying to tell her friend like she's pregnant, and her friend's like, "Oh, toots, we realize." Like, I'm like, I couldn't understand what they're saying. They had their own little language, and she's like, "Oh, really? That's kind of what I was kind of hoping you to start with, Rick." So I'm like, who talks like this? If I had a kid and they talked like this, I'd put soap in their mouth till they and you're like, you're gonna talk normal, or you're gonna be eating soap.
One of our favorite lines from a movie in the '80s. Speaky English.
You just understand the words come out of my mouth.
I agree, by the way, with Jim Sorensen. I think that Guardians of the Galaxy is a great film. Like I would like this same dialogue if it was just them in a room
Oh
talking.
yeah, Vin
It was all about the characters, but I didn't care what they were doing.
I find if there's been a Roger Corbin, you had Ben Diesel in a suit. I'm a tree.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true, but the point being is I cared more about what they were saying than what they were doing. I like the interaction between the characters, but the movie itself, the action is very blah. We've seen it before. It's not even like not even with just action films, but in Marvel movies itself, they follow a paint by numbers kind of style. But you mentioned a movie. You mentioned Juno, which I think is a movie of its time. I'm going to go with the old people, and old people can remember this film. But you will see one scene out of this movie, and it is one of the most intense and awesome car chases of all time, where a cop is chasing a crook who is on a train. So he's following the train trestle in Chicago, and it's an amazing chase because they didn't have license to shoot it. So really, they just said go, and they filmed it. And so everybody around there is acting and reacting because it's actually happening. It wasn't like all the people on the sides of the roads is extras. That's a movie called The French Connection.
Okay.
Which
You're saying this is
look,
overrated?
Mind you, I didn't say it's not good. I just think it's overrated. At this point in time, it was such a movie of its time. Now, as far as action movies are concerned, kind of dull.
Now it makes sense where
I
he
just
came from.
disagree. And why do you think it's 100% an action movie?
No, it's okay, because it's built that way. It's just built that way. Sorry, dude, but it is. And the one thing is, it's built off of that one car chase. Now, I like it. I think it's a good movie. I just think it's overrated in its status.
Okay, I'll disagree on that. I just don't. I think it's
I haven't seen it, but it makes me wonder why they put that scene in U.S. Marshals with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah,
I'm
not saying it's bad. We're not talking about bad films here. We're talking about overrated movies. And some films, they are just elevated to a certain status. And do they really deserve that? Or as I say in some of my videos, is it really that good? Does it deserve to be put on that high of a pedestal?
But see, and this is where we're splitting hairs, but we'll probably have to flesh this out at some point in the future because we're getting ready to wrap up. But like, I just think of it more as a detective movie that happens to have an action sequence in it that's very good. I don't look at it as an action movie with cops. I just don't. It's not. I don't look at it that way. And so yes, it's supposed to be, as you would say, slow. And I go, no, that's the typical pace of that kind of a film. And I think the 70s in general is probably a little more measured when it comes to the pacing anyway. But no, it's a good movie. We're not saying it's bad at all. I'm a little surprised to hear you say that.
No. Overrated does not mean bad.
I know.
Overrated, no.
But now, which version were you watching? Because there was, like, I guess, remakes?
French Connection? No, there's no remake of that. I mean, people borrowed the hell out of it,
The original one, early 70s.
Yeah, okay. Another good movie that actually did not get elevated to any kind of status, which maybe it should have, is that has an awesome car chase. It's called Ronin from the 1990s.
Oh, is that with Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I barely remember it. It's like, I just know he's in it.
Yeah, but see, there's underrated films too.
I know.
There are those movies that it's like, hey, why isn't everybody shouting how great Upgrade is? It's just we can't be the only ones.
All right, so Doctor, any closing comments or thoughts before we go?
I got 2 more movies, man.
Well, we're gonna have to pocket it. We got to get ready for the top 10.
Well, it'll be short. It'll be short and sweet, sir.
Quick.
Number 2 is Blade Runner. What I gotta say about it? It's a lot of rain, a lot of boring.
I say that.
And it's only got Rutger Hauer at the end being awesome.
And a lot of rain.
Yeah, and then you get Daryl Hannah being hot. Number 1 from my last is called. It's a movie from 1968. It involves a 10-minute scene of a guy floating in space where all you hear is him breathing. Movie also has no dialogue for the first 25 minutes, and you see gorillas. turning into men.
I like this movie a lot, but everybody's like, yeah, I just don't get it. 2001.
Wait, what? Oh, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't. Yeah, I agree with Venkman on this one and
And
Blade Runner.
the very last scene is a baby
Wait.
floating in space, man.
No, you can't drop these movies at the end and not have a conversation. These are two huge films where, in all honesty, you and I are in the minority there, Venkman. A lot of people believe that 2001: A Space Odyssey is the beginning and end of science fiction as it's told.
It's art. But the thing is that even if you spoil the ending, the whole point of the movie is it's art. You're supposed to interpret yourself what it means.
What it means is I lost 2 hours of my life. I literally just don't like it. And God bless for those who did. I'm just like, eh. But then again, I could also see that as a product of its time. You know, it was something new. It was something different. So like Bonanza on television, you never saw color before. So regardless of quality, you're going to rush to it and say, hey, isn't Bonanza great? It's just that kind of movie. I thought that 2000 Space Odyssey was 2001 was just boring as hell. Blade Runner, man, Rutger Hauer gives a great performance. He really does. There's nothing wrong with the film, as you know, you can watch it, but guys,
it's a long film.
Not that great. You know, I don't know.
Like you said, the fight scene at the end with Harrison Ford on the rain, he's slipping, holding on.
I don't know if it deserves its classic status. I can only think that Rob right now is boiling because his silence there. He might explode on us, but
Blade Runner 2 was actually better than the first one, dare I say, because they actually made Harrison Ford seem like a tough guy.
Oh, no. Just no.
Oh yeah, right. It's seething. It's seething.
But don't worry, my dad liked this movie too because I guess he liked it because it was Harrison Ford and you had Sean Young.
And Dalton, we'll save that movie for the next time, where that way you can actually have me and Rob go at it.
I don't know. The Shine was kind of dull.
No, don't even talk about it. That's for the next time. That's what I said. That's the next time.
When you make up my list, it's so dim.
Yeah. And then we'll talk about why Back to the Future sucks. I'm just kidding.
I wish it would go back to the past, would actually be good.
Have you noticed that Ghostbusters is a bit over? No.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, we just wanted to throw out a few overrated movies going into 2003 because we don't want to act like we're raging or we're hating or something like that. We just basically want to say, hey, these are movies that aren't that good, or really that they're overrated, whether they're good or not, and here's why. Just talk about it, because normally when we do our top 10s, it's to find out what people like so we can cover them in more detail later or do our watch party. I know that your schedule's been wacky recently, and I know we've been looking forward to all three of us getting together for a special edition of Xtreme Classics to do The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I know you really like that film a lot, so we've got that coming down the pipe, and a few others too.
Nothing overrated about Liberty Valance.
I know, just real quick. Did you like Forrest Gump? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No. Hell no.
And he hasn't said this. Okay, I'll tell you something here. This was not usually. Rob has this thing where he reacts to everybody else's reaction. If he hears how great this movie is, then he's gonna go in. God damn it, this movie sucks. Brrr. This time he didn't. We saw it together. This time he didn't. He came out. I was like, oh, that was pretty. This movie sucks. It was like, yeah, it was just that kind of reaction. It was just.
I don't know if you jumped in after I talked about it. The whole movie of Forrest Gump it's such a horrible story, so depressing, and not because she died. It's because she left him with a kid after saying, "I don't want to be with you because you're stupid."
And I have AIDS. You may want to get tested.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good story. I don't mind the story at all. Sometimes you have depressing stories. That's okay. The one thing that I would agree with you that it's overrated is that it won the Oscar above Pulp Fiction and Shawshank Redemption, which I think are superior films. But once again, they were using it was a film that you did not see that kind of stuff before. It is a movie that came out and wowed people, and once again, though, once you watch the movie, once you're past the wow factor, does it still hold up? Some films can. Jurassic Park, the original one, that still holds up because the wow factor is there, but it's also a decent movie as well.
Does this
And
get
it's got a strong story. I don't think beyond Tom Hanks,
does
there's
this
a lot there on Forrest
does
Gump.
this Samuel Jackson die in that movie too? Jurassic Park.
Yes,
What's with him getting attacked by animals and get dying?
that is his thing. That's why he was able to beat up the snakes. They didn't have legs.
All right, guys, thanks
All
for
right.
showing up. E, thanks for showing up as well. We'll do this again at some point in the future. It was a specialty thing that we are throwing out there. It was in clinical trials, as they say, the show, the Losers Club or whatever the hell we'll call it. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting discussion too. Definitely, some people had some strong opinions about movies they thought were overrated. That's cool. So that's why that movie didn't get a lot of views. Dang, we covered it. Maybe we shouldn't have. Yeah. All right, so we've got 2003 top 10
Yep.
Tuesday coming up here shortly. Look for that link. Share it. Spread it like AIDS. Give it to everybody so we can pop those numbers, guys.
Everybody got AIDS and shit. Showgirls.
A dog, a sister.
All right. Stay extreme, guys. Have a good night. We weren't doing
Toodles.
too great on the close because it's a loser show, so like in no music.
Uh,
Toodles,
I'm,
TTFN. Good
I'm a
night.
loser, baby. So why don't you kill me?